Quick disclaimer before we go any further. I'm not an expert by any means in any regard, and I am aware of that. I also am aware and open to being wrong about a lot of stuff. I obviously would like to improve and be more knowledgeable, so if at any point you become angry or just super passionate about what I'm saying, try not to take it to heart too much. If you want to go in the comments and educate me or inform me of your experience in the modern dating market, feel free to do so. I just want to encourage y'all, if you can, try not to get too angry. Today we are going to talk about the dating market. This is probably going to be a multi-part series because boy oh boy are there many things to discuss. Today we're going to focus on two specific questions. The first one being, have men and women's expectations in a romantic partner become more unrealistic or delusional in recent times? And number two, how has modern technology shaped or altered what we find attractive in a partner in 2024? So in order to address the first question, we're going to have to look at some statistics, opinions, perspectives of men and women in the dating market throughout the last couple of decades or so. We're going to start basically from the 80s, the 90s, 2000s, 2010s plus. Study that I found that was researched, I think the early 80s all the way up to like 2012 if I'm not mistaken. They were studying the differences in mating preferences between men and women. In one of the studies, they found that most women were attracted to a man's ability and willingness to devote his resources to her life and the life of her offspring. Stronger earning capacity, highly educated, slightly older than them, roughly around about 5 years older was the sweet spot. That's what women preferred. In the study, as far as physical attractiveness went, they all preferred someone who was medium level attractiveness, so a homely look. As far as the outfit goes, they always went for the man that was wearing the expensive suit and the Rolex watch, nice shoes, business attire outfit. And now for what the men found attractive. It found that men prioritize youthfulness and physical beauty. Specifically, they were looking for physical features that signaled youthfulness: clear skin, big eyes, full lips, long hair, facial and bodily symmetry. They were also searching for a woman that had a maternal nature and could be a good mother to children. Also desired attributes that would indicate a woman wouldn't be unfaithful in the relationship. So at the time, it sounds like men prioritized physical beauty, non-promiscuous, maternal/good caretaker, and youthfulness. The mating preferences in men and women have not drastically changed since the 80s. Women still rate men of good financial prospects, education, career status higher, and men still prefer women with high rates of physical beauty, youthfulness, maternal instincts. It does show in this graph that there's a slight shift in men preferring women who are more intelligent and slightly more career-oriented, but it's not that much of a difference. In the 80s, and I would even say early 90s, most of our interpersonal romantic relationships were formed by meeting a partner in social settings. Looking at the study that I found on the internet, this is data collected from unmarried and married couples that cohabited together. Most of the people met their partners through friends or acquaintances. If you look at the graph, it's roughly 30%, and then 25% met through work, 20% through a bar or restaurant, 15% through family, roughly 8% or so from high school, 5% met through religion, another 5% for neighbors, another 5% for college. Most people were meeting in person in some form of a social setting or through social networking. It starts to shift when you get to about the 1990s all the way up to the 2000s because the creation of online dating has officially entered the scene. As you can see from the graph, in the 90s, online dating increased from roughly like 3% to 15% by the end of the decade. All the other trends have had a slight decrease, but most people were still meeting through friends, social networking, work, and bars. Looking at the 2000s up to the 2010s, online dating skyrockets and becomes the #1 way people meet their romantic partners. It jumps all the way up to nearly 30%, and then meeting through friends and acquaintances jumps down to 25%. Any form of an in-person social setting, those interactions jump down and become second tier to online interactions and dating. It's now more common for people to meet online. That's a monumental change in human nature right there. Definitely shouldn't be taken lightly or underestimated when looking at the grand scheme of the current dating market and what has shifted in dating behaviors between men and women. So what does all of this mean? Although it would appear, based off of what we hear today on podcasts, dating shows, social media, all of that stuff, would portray men and women to have these huge new differences that are completely incompatible. What it shows is that men and women have, and currently do, differ in what they prioritize in mates. What they differ has been relatively the same and stable as the years have changed, regardless of modern technology being invented. What's a bigger change, the shift of people finding long-term partners in social settings, now finding partners through online connections. So let's get into that. Online dating. What a whirlwind, monster, machine, beast, demon in itself. Online dating has replaced in-person interaction and gotten rid of a lot of the traditional dating norms, such as who asks who out, where should we go, when's the first meeting, when is it official, creating more nuance than ever before in the dating market. This can be uplifting and empowering even to people who reject traditional norms and don't feel that a man always has to ask a woman out, who feel like roles can be switched or that roles are interchangeable. It can also be empowering to people who don't thrive in social settings. But it's also created a lot of confusion and uncertainty with how one should move forward when courting a potential partner. And dating apps add another layer of uncertainty to the equation, because now experience becomes easily accessible to almost everyone who has a cell phone, which most people do, and they have it with them 24/7. So now your options are even broader. They're worldwide sometimes. You can filter your options and try to find a partner based off of age, race, occupation, religion, weight, height, hobbies. It can even be broken down into certain icks, just little tidbit things that you don't find attractive in people, like specific clothing item that wear. It's as simple as swiping yes or no. You don't have to deal with rejecting someone. Simply ignore them. You can leave them on red and just completely forget that you ever interacted with this person at all. Zero repercussions, zero explanations needed to stop pursuing someone. All this really is to me is it just feels like a huge experiment. Unfortunately, in this experiment, in this test study, we have become our own lab rats. We're trying to answer the question, does abandoning our traditional dating norms increase our probabilities of finding a romantic partner? Wouldn't straying away from traditional, fundamental, basic courting be mutually beneficial to both men and women, since we're both complex beings? Our behaviors and mindsets can't be boxed in. We're testing out that experiment right now, and so far, it would appear that men and women simply aren't doing the best. Right now, it's not looking so hot. Who right here can say that they feel 100%, even 75% accurately represented by what they post or what is posted about them on social media? Not a lot of us. A lot of these things aren't accurate. They're facades, personalities, and characters that we've curated of ourselves. You're behind the screen, there's a comforting level of anonymity. There's so much about yourself that can be curated. You can curate your personality, your physical appearance, your life story, what you do for work, your hobbies, all this stuff. These people don't know you. The likelihood of them actually meeting you in person to verify is 0 to none. The issue with dating apps is people have gotten so delusional in their options and what they see as attainable in a partner because of the breakdown of the app itself. You can sort everything out into categories, micro categories, categories of categories within categories, things that we weren't focused on when we were meeting someone in person. Some people that you would have never been aware of within your local neighborhood back in the 80s, or your bar that you go to, or your small town. Along with that, people have gotten extraordinarily more picky. I will say, I think women have gotten more pickier than men, judging by what men and women find attractive in general. The 80s all the way to now, I think women have always been pickier in what they find attractive in mates than men. Again, men mainly focused on physical beauty. And after that, regarding like career, intelligence, economic status, hobbies, all that stuff, it wasn't a huge priority to focus on the things regarding a long-term partner. Whereas women were very picky regarding socioeconomic status, intelligence, education level, career, outfits that they were wearing, fashion, physical appearance. And I think what dating apps have done is they've magnified what men and women prioritize and almost sort of made us a parody of ourselves. So now not only do we want these things, we have exposure to these things. It doesn't seem like a wish list as it used to be in the past. Men would be like, oh yeah, back in the day, they'd be like, oh yeah, I would love to date a freaking supermodel who wants to stay at home, have all my kids. But is that gonna happen based off of what's around me right now? Probably not. So I'm gonna take what's around me. Same thing for women. They're like, oh yeah, I would love someone with this huge, amazing career who takes care of me, provides for me while I stay at home, all that stuff. Is that gonna happen based off of what's around me? Probably not. So I'm gonna take what I can get from what's around me. Now, what happens when the world is around you? Not around you, it's in your hand. Oof. Now that's prophetic. What happens when the world is in your hand and you think you have all of these options based off of what's on your phone? Because most of them don't end up turning into a date. Even when it does turn into a date, those dates rarely lead into another date, rarely lead into a long-term relationship. The odds get slimmer and slimmer as you stay on the apps and participate in the app. Now people think they have all the options solely because they are seeing the options. That doesn't mean they have them. It's a matter of exposure that has probably shifted our expectations and what we expect in a partner to this whole new level of delusion across the board. People are going on these shows and broadcasting their poor experiences and saying how miserable and how miserable they are and how they can never live up to the standards of the men that they want or the women that they want, or how they feel like they'll never be accepted as a partner because of how the opposite sex values them or views them in modern society. You have the typical battle of the sexes. Women place most of the blame on men. Men place most of the blame on women. That's pretty typical. It's being heard about more solely due to the invention of these outlets for people to express their opinions. I think what's really at stake, my hypothesis is men and women are confused and, dare I say, traumatized. I don't use that word lightly, but I'm going to use it here because I really think it kind of might be the case. Men and women are confused and traumatized from suppressing their innate biological, even traditional mating preferences and values within a non-traditional dating market. I think we are handling a beast, a machine, and we as test subjects are breaking down. We can't necessarily use the rules that were used 30 years ago to navigate what's happening today. My heart goes out to everyone, truly. If you're having a rough time, I fully understand why you would be having a rough time. Thanks for watching. Follow me on my social medias, and yeah.